The protagonist finds himself transported to the heavens, a place he had never visited before. Confused, he questions where he is and how he was chosen. There he meets a woman named Nolan, who explains the situation. Nolan apologizes, revealing that he was summoned alongside others by mistake. He was never meant to be part of the summoning. Taku, still puzzled, asks, "But you just told me I was chosen." Nolan explains further, stating that the summoning process randomly selects individuals from various worlds. However, during the process, he was accidentally caught in the summoning spell. Once she realized the mistake, she isolated him and brought him to her by unconventional means. Nolan admits that the summoning spell is flawed and dangerous. She explains that the rules of this world and Earth are vastly different, creating significant risks. The misuse of this magic could threaten the stability of the realm, known as Midgard. Frustrated, she reveals that the summoning spell had been banned, but one country recklessly implemented it under flimsy justifications. She tried to stop it, but failed. Taku asks, "Are the others who were summoned with me here as well?" Nolan shakes her head, explaining that they were sent to the correct location as intended by the spell, as their selection was legitimate. He sighs and remarks, "So, I'm just a mistake, right?" Nolan nods, confirming his suspicion. Taku, growing increasingly frustrated, demands, "Then send me back to where I came from now." Nolan, with visible regret, tells him she cannot do so. She expresses her anger and sorrow over the situation, admitting that she has been trying to stop the use of such forbidden spells. She explains that the process cannot be reversed because his physical body no longer exists to house his soul. Taku, now furious, asks, "What do you mean I don't have a body?" At that moment, he notices that he has taken the form of a glowing orb of light. Nolan explains that his body had suffered irreparable damage during the summoning process, leading to his isolation from the intended target. She apologizes once again for the grave mistake. Taku, overwhelmed with frustration, told Nolan that her apology was unacceptable. He demanded to know how he was supposed to live his life now. Nolan explained that he could adapt to his new existence and live out his days in Midgard. She suggested he embrace this new life, as returning to his previous one was no longer an option. Taku asked if it was possible for him to be summoned to the holy city of Cydonia. Nolan replied that it was indeed possible, but warned him that life in Cydonia was fraught with difficulties and likely unsuitable for someone who had been summoned by mistake. Saddened, Taku asked why this had happened to him. Nolan explained that he wasn't the intended target of the summoning spell. Wanting to make amends, Nolan offered him a solution. She told him that as this was her mistake, she had been unable to forgive herself. To make up for it, she proposed sending him to a new place, giving him a new body, and bestowing upon him her blessing. Intrigued, Taku asked, "What kind of blessing?" Nolan explained it was similar to the blessings found in video games and anime in Japan, and she suggested sending him to a world resembling those settings. "What do you think?" she asked. Taku hesitated, admitting he was terrified. Nolan reassured him and told him to simply say the word status if he wanted to proceed. Taku reluctantly said the word, and a screen appeared before him, displaying his name, profession, and age. He noticed that his profession was blank and told Nolan he wanted his old job listed. Nolan dismissed the importance of his past and explained that the world he would be sent to didn't have conventional professions. She then displayed a list of jobs for him to choose from, including warrior roles, non-combat roles, and even chemical specialists, along with other unique professions. Taku told her he wanted no part in combat or trouble and preferred to take on a production-related job. Nolan smiled and remarked, "You don't have much confidence in yourself." Taku replied, "Just leave me alone." Nolan assured him that if he properly utilized the skills he developed, he could excel in his chosen field. She offered to grant him a helpful spell to aid him in his production work. She then created a glowing stone between her hands, blew on it until it solidified, and placed it into Taku's mouth. After bestowing her blessing, Nolan wished him a happy new life in Asgard and bid him farewell. Taku wakes up lying on the ground, disoriented. As he glances at his reflection in a nearby pool of water, he realizes his appearance has completely changed. Curious, he opens the bag he finds with him, discovering coins, food, and a knife. Thinking aloud, he notes that revealing his connection to the gods might cause trouble and decides to keep it a secret. Determined to test his newfound magic, Taku tries using water spells first, then moves on to slicing air magic, which cuts through several trees. Finally, he uses earth magic to hurl stones at the trees. Thrilled by his abilities, he continues exploring and comes across a rare piece of wood. Assessing it through his enhanced senses, he determines it to be a precious material capable of being turned into a spear. Using his knife, he skillfully crafts it into a large spear. Examining his surroundings further, Taku notices some plants with a mix of toxins and medicinal properties. However, he struggles to store them and recalls the possibility of summoning a tool chest spell. Just as he prepares to cast it, a frightened young girl appears, running toward him and hiding behind him. She nervously explains that she's being chased by a monster. A massive rabbit-like creature emerges, its enormous size intimidating Taku. The monster charges at him, but Taku strikes its head with his spear, defeating it with a single blow. Overjoyed, Taku assumes this strength must be a gift from Nolan, though he wonders if it might just be a stroke of luck. The system informs him that he has become a warrior, but Taku dismisses it, stating that he has no interest in being a fighter. Turning his attention to the girl, he checks if she's unharmed and asks why she ventured into such a dangerous area. She explains that she came to gather herbs for medicine and mentions that she's from the village of Boar. Taku asks if he can accompany her back to the village, to which she happily agrees. Grateful, Taku tells her she's his savior, as he had no idea where the village was and was about to set up camp nearby. The girl notices the slain rabbit and asks if they're going to leave it behind, mentioning that its meat is delicious. Surprised, Taku stores the rabbit in his tool chest, astonishing the girl. She exclaims, "You're amazing!" She then introduces herself as Molly, and the two set off for Board. The scene shifts to the Cydonia Empire, where 3 students, including a girl named Akani, have gathered. They question why they've been summoned to this place. A princess named Elizabeth, who oversees the area, approaches them. Elizabeth explains that they were chosen for their extraordinary powers, which must be used to save the world. However, Akan begins to sense something unsettling. She realizes that Elizabeth is not as benevolent as she appears. Akani becomes convinced that Elizabeth is a danger to them and that she cannot be trusted under any circumstances. Taku is warmly welcomed by Molly's father, Banga, who expresses his gratitude for saving his daughter. Taku asks if he can stay in the village for a while, to which Banga readily agrees. He tells Taku that the land here is rich with medicinal herbs, perfect for making remedies. Banga's friend Bono adds that the village also has facilities for crafting, bringing great joy to Taku, who prefers such activities. Banga informs Taku that there is no available lodging in the village at the moment, but promises to build one for him. Bono quickly gathers a group of workers, and they head to an empty plot of land. Banga apologizes, saying this is all they have for now. Taku assures them that it's perfect, and begins using his magic to prepare the ground for construction. Everyone is amazed as he creates a solid foundation, but the effort leaves Taku feeling drained from overusing his mana. Concerned, Bono asks if Taku is alright and if he can truly use magic. Taku responds, "Is that unusual here?" Bono's friend interjects, "Not at all. You're impressive as you are." Together they continue constructing a large house. Taku reflects on his new life and notes how fortunate he is to have carpentry and blacksmithing skills, which helped him furnish the house. However, he decides it's time to change his profession and opts to become a chemist and blacksmith. With plenty of copper and iron at his disposal, Taku experiments with his abilities. Using his magic, he successfully transforms raw iron into strong metal ingots without the need for a furnace. Elated by his initial success, he continues refining the remaining materials. Meanwhile, Molly visits Taku and knocks on his door. When there's no response, she opens it and finds Taku collapsed on the floor. Alarmed, she screams for help. Taku regains consciousness and explains that he had overexerted himself, using too much mana and feeling nauseous as a result. Martha, Molly's mother, scolds him for not taking care of his health. Banga hands Taku an energy drink to restore his mana. Feeling rejuvenated, Taku resumes his work, crafting various ingots and even household items such as utensils and other tools. He later joins Bono in weapon making and uses his fire magic to forge a new piece. Bono is astonished, declaring it the finest creation he ever made. Taku requested some healing potions from Banga so he could try crafting similar ones himself. He attempted to replicate them, but noticed that his potions differed in color and lacked the same potency. Determined to perfect his skills, he ventured into the forest and began tasting various herbs. Unfortunately, one turned out to be poisonous, causing him intense pain. Using a healing spell, he managed to alleviate most of the pain, but was left feeling weak. Struggling to stand, Taku realized that mastering healing magic might not be as straightforward as he had hoped. As he recovered, a massive creature known as the Armored Boar appeared behind him. Gripping his spear tightly, Taku prepared to defend himself. The boar charged, and Taku threw a knife at it, but the attack failed to land. The boar pressed forward, forcing Taku to attack again with his spear. However, the boar's tough hide rendered the spear ineffective, and it snapped under the pressure. The boar struck Taku, sending him flying and leaving him momentarily incapacitated. As the boar prepared to charge again, Taku panicked, unsure of what to do. He then attempted earth magic, hurling rocks at the boar, but the creature remained unfazed. He tried using wind magic, but it had no effect. Just as Taku was running out of options, he heard a faint whisper behind him. Turning around, he saw a large, wounded, venomous spider lurking nearby. Unsure of how to proceed, Taku tried to focus, but the boar charged toward him again. Before the boar could strike, the spider intervened, creating a web barrier that diverted the boar's path. Though the web slowed it down, the boar remained largely unaffected and prepared for another attack. Desperation set in as Taku struggled to devise a plan. In a moment of clarity, he remembered his alchemical skills. When the boar charged once more, Taku used his abilities to launch himself into the air. From above, he unleashed a powerful attack aimed at the boar's head, finally killing it. With the battle over, Taku turned his attention to the injured spider. Using a healing spell, he restored the spider's wounds, which unexpectedly tamed it. The spider became docile and seemed to form a bond with Taku, following him around and accepting him as its master. Taku decided to name the spider Maple, and further enhanced it by repairing a damaged leg, earning Maple's loyalty and affection. Back in the village, news of Taku's victory over the armored boar spread quickly. The villagers were amazed, as the boar had incredible strength and resilience. Lumi pointed out to Taku that there was a spider on his back, causing others to react with fear. Taku quickly reassured them, saying, "Don't worry, I've tamed it. It's completely docile now and won't harm anyone." Banga, surprised, remarked, "I've never heard of anyone taming insects before, but it seems you've managed it." Taku smiled and suggested, "Let's all feast on the boar together." The suggestion delighted everyone, including the children, who began playing around the boar. The villagers gathered to prepare the meal. While they worked, Banga told Taku, "If you want to sell the boar's hide and tusks, you can do so in the big city." Taku asked, "What's the nearest city from here?" Banga replied, "Pluto, but it's quite far from here." Meanwhile, Maple the spider played joyfully with the children, surprising the adults with its gentle nature. Bono remarked, "Ever since Taku arrived, this village has been brighter and livelier than before." Banga nodded in agreement, but added, "I don't think he'll stay in this small village for long." The scene shifts to Nolan, observing Taku from above. She muses to herself, "He's doing well now," and silently encourages him to keep going. Her friend appears beside her and asks, "What do you wish for Taku?" Nolan hesitates before replying, "How could I wish for anything specific?" Her friend reminds her, "You gave him a new body, your blessing, and sent him a whole year into the past, long before the Cydonia Empire cast its summoning spell. Surely you must have something in mind for him." Nolan softly replies, "I don't have a specific wish for him," before turning her gaze back to Taku.